But, Mad Dog Killer here, back again. What a guan. That's how they start off the year. You know, sure, pure fire and gunshot slick. You understand? Them battles hot off the top. Anyway, for those that don't understand what I just said, the way how they started out this new year, respect them leagues, dropped a couple of hot battles. There's like 2 classics, I feel. 1 classic and 1 real good battle, maybe a couple duds. But at least they dropped them the first of the year, so you had something to look at. Before I even get into all of that, let me just say, you know, I dropped my previous blog with DNA versus Tay-Rock, and I made a reference to a hat in there, you know, and I said I'll get back to the hat scheme. It was something on DNA and his swag, and I didn't. And you know, in the video, I laughed about it. I said I never, you know, sometimes I say these things and I don't get back to it, but I promised that I would, and I didn't. And this guy, Deshaun Green, he blogged in the thing and he said, yo, you said you was going to do it with the hat. You ain't do it. I'm not feeling you no more. So I told him, I said, yo, yeah, I'm going to shout you out in the next video. You know what I'm saying? You deserve that. And I'm going to finish that scheme. Anyway, here it is. It was a real simple thing. You know what I'm saying? Like if I was DNA and, you know, I wanted to, if I was DNA's manager and I wanted DNA to start working his swag a little bit differently, and it could be as simple as how you wear your hat. You know, like if I was going on stage to perform, or even if I was just chilling after the event, you know, or coming into the event, I'm coming to the event maybe like a pirate, maybe one eye covered in the hat sort of to the side, and you know what I'm saying? And every time you see me, it's like I'm like trying to, you know, b-boy you a little bit. You know, I'm hip-hopping you a little bit. I'm like whatting you a little bit. You know what I'm saying? It's like what? He need that. He need that swag a little bit. He don't have to overdo it. He just need a little bit of it. He have too much this way. And I'm not saying he need to go all the way that way, but he need to like somebody to pull him back a little bit. DNA, you'd give, like if I was his man, I'd give DNA this hat. Like, no lie, I swear, like if I tell him, I'll put this on and he come out the bathroom, he probably had a hat, you know, he probably had a hat, something like, oh, you know what I'm saying? And rolled up at the top, looking like some broke African type of dude. You know what I mean? He probably wear it like this and have it all messed up. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, I don't even know how this look. I don't want to, you know, whatever. So, all right, enough on that topic. But shout out to that dude, Deshaun, calling me out. It was a simple, you know, a brother in his basement right now, so I gotta try and mix and match how I do my heat and sweater and all of that, and give y'all what y'all need. So I'm gonna jump right into this. Let me jump right into this. Ill Will X Factor was one of the battles that dropped. Another battle that dropped was Daylyt Quest mcody. Another battle that dropped was Prez versus Steams. Another battle that dropped was Prez versus this guy named flamez. Now, this blog was just supposed to be Ill Will versus X Factor. And, you know, after I watched that battle, I was like, man, I don't even want to blog about that, you know. But I know there's people that want to have an idea how, you know, what the perspective is, because it goes bigger than just the battle. You know, these guys have names, they have a fan base, they have responsibilities, and if for X Factor, they have priorities. So it's worth breaking down. But I don't think that a whole blog should be dedicated to that, because they kind of didn't give us that kind of dedication. So what I did was I said, you know what? Because the new year started out a certain kind of way, let's talk about a few battles in this blog. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to jump into a few of them, and we're going to do it like that. Ill Will X Factor first round. Ill Will comes out with like the first line saying that he recorded some conversation that him, Miles, QP, and J-Rel, along with X Factor, was in. And evidently, this conversation would have made X Factor look pretty bad because he was shook. You could see he was shook on stage. As soon as he said he recorded that conversation, he said, "You don't know what I'll do. I recorded the conversation." And then when X Factor looked shook, he was like, "Nah, psych, I lied, but you was scared to death." And I just wish that Ill Will would have had a story behind that, almost like how Hitman would tell you a story. If he had a story behind that, I mean, that would have made his round so much more memorable. But anyway, he finished out strong. He had a bar about, well, in the middle, he impersonated X Factor. His impersonation of X Factor was fantastic. It was really good. And then he had finished out strong with a bar on Proof, you know. And then X Factor starts, and I swear for like 2 minutes, 2 whole minutes, he spit nothing but filler. I mean, it could have been for anybody, and it really didn't even. It wasn't even hot. It wasn't even hot bars. It was like whatever bars. And then after the 2 minutes, he finally said something about a glove in Detroit, and it sounded halfway decent, but like. His bars leading up to that was so bad that you was looking for anything, so anything sounded good. So then he said something about, you know, a real simple bar about, you know, ill will and steering wheel, and it was alright, you know what I'm saying? The second round, Ill Will had a couple of bars in there. It seemed like if he was sort of, Ill Will had some filler, and then he had some haymaking type styles, and he said something about, you know, you on ice, ball so much, you know, more than a groin injury. And then he said, you know, he'll have him receive the medal like a person that like a person that won an award or something like that. So, you know, he had a couple of nice or decent bars. I'm not gonna say that the bars or his performance in the second round was super crazy. It was alright. It was good. It wasn't what we expect from Ill Will, but it was good. He had some X flips that was really good. And he had a alright second round. X Factor's second round, he starts out saying that he hates Ill Will and how much he hates him. And then he says, "I hate you so much that if you was a woman, I'd rape you." Wow. First of all, it wasn't even like a bar. Second of all, it was like a straight pause moment. And I'm not even the biggest person to be pausing, but that was definitely a big pause moment. Then third, yo, my nigga, like, I know you could say whatever you want in a battle. I know you could, you know, it's no holds barred and all of that. I get it. You could talk about a dude, his mother, and all of that shit. But, like, rape to me is like, it's even worse than murder. Like, the women that actually had to go through that, you gotta live with that. At least with a murder, it's like, it's over. But, anyway, I'm not saying a whole bunch of women is going to start marching against X Factor or they're going to be mad at these battle leagues, but when you go to these events, and believe it or not, on the internet and stuff, there's a lot of female people that are fans, female fans, and you don't know what they've went through. And I just think you could prove that you hate somebody a lot better than saying that you'd rape them. All right, I'm off of my moral compass a little of that. I just didn't think that bar was necessary. But he did come back with this. He did say this bar. I don't know if it was in the second or third. I think it was in the second. He said that you're a Nicky cartoon hero. You super ass. I got a chuckle out of that. That was funny. What's his name? Ill Will comes out in the third round. He has a panda scheme. He starts talking about, no, wrong. Sorry, he doesn't have a panda scheme, but his third round was all right. And when I was watching the battle, I was thinking to myself, what is this battle missing? What do I get out of some of these other battles? And what you get out of some of these other battles is stage presence, aggression. You get bars. You get haymakers. You get excitement. You feel the excitement. You feel the energy out of, some of these battles. You don't get that out of X Factor and Ill Will. Just wasn't there. And I'm just going to say that to me, it just seemed like a 3-0 Ill Will, and not even a body 3-0. It was just X Factor's delivery, his stage presence. Hey, I want to say this, though. The highlight of the whole battle, or could have been the highlight of the whole battle, was X Factor took his hat off twice. In the, I believe it was the second round, or the end of the first, and I think he took it off in the third. He took it off, wiped his head, and put it back on. Yo, watch for that. Let me know if it was the first and the third or the second and the third. But the problem is, and they have two cameras. They have a front view camera that had their full body, and then they had this back camera that had a fat back of X Factor's head. Both times they edited or had the camera shot with the back of his head when this guy's taking off his cap. I mean, this is a momentous time in battle rap where there's been nothing but conversation of what's under his hat, how he wears his hat. I know there's been a couple of times he had a couple battles where he had the hat off, but I mean, this is up-to-date stuff. Smack had a picture of him with, what it would look like without his hat on. It was funny, but come on, dog. X Factor takes his hat off. You have the cameras running simultaneously. When you do the editing, give us a front view of that cranium. You know what I'm saying? Let us live a little bit. Anyway, I gotta get on my Ed Lover shit with that. He got to come on, son. I gotta get my nigga, son. Anyway, the next battle is the next battle we're gonna talk about is, well, the next battle that we're not gonna talk about, let's say that, is Prez Mafia versus Steams. I was there at the event. I thought it was a better Steams, a better Prez than I've seen before. Steams was, again, the stage presence and just not having the right swag or flow with your stuff. It just messes up battles. This is what I was talking about with DNA. When you just can't go with bars. These guys are entertainers, they're performers, they're MCs. They're supposed to move the crowd. And you just can't bail out a battle rap. I feel a lot of fans, I don't care if I offend them, I feel a lot of fans is bailing out these battle rappers because when their battle rapper is losing or they lost a battle, they want to go with, oh, let's just look at the bars. Let's just see who has the better bars. No, my nigga. We're not just seeing who just has the better bars. We're looking at who has the best performance, including the bars. Everything counts. Everything counts. Right? When you seen Cassidy performing against Diz, his eyes popping out his head, all the aggression in him, and he had everything going. It was funny as hell, but all of that counts. It all counts. Right? He's engaged. Diz is spitting. He's looking Diz right in his eye. He's in character the whole time. He does not take any time off from being in character. And I'm not a fan of how Cassidy led up to this battle or how he talks. I hate listening to any of his interviews. I can't listen to any Cassidy interviews, but I can use him as a reference point for what I'm talking about here. So I'm not going to talk about Prez and Steams. But what I will talk about is Prez versus D Flamez. Now, I never heard of D Flamez before this. Forgive me if he's that nice. But Prez versus D Flamez was a surprise. My nephew hit me up with the link. I looked at it. I'm like, oh, this battle is fire. This battle is fire. Forgive me for taking so long to get into this. This battle's the truth. So I'm looking at it, and I know Prez, but I don't know D Flamez. And it seems as though it's somewhat of a smaller type of event. I'm not going to say it's a small room, but it's a smaller type of event. And I think D Flamez, I know D Flamez goes first. D Flamez first round, this dude is swinging for the fences, right? And I've seen that before, where known battle rappers going against a lesser known battle rapper. So the lesser known guy, his first round is just crazy. He's trying to just give the guy whatever but everything this guy D Flamez has is for Prez. All 3 rounds, everything is for Prez, and all his rounds connect and match well. If you watch the battle, you'll see. Well written. So his first round, ape shit. Prez's first round was good. Some people might say he edged it. I didn't see it. I think his energy and style didn't match D Flamez, and I think that Prez woosahs too much, and he's shrugging his shoulders too much, and he's doing too much of the stuff that got him, let's say recognized, but now he's doing too much of it. And I think he needs either something new or just like give us that stage presence, give us them bars, give us what we've been looking for type of thing. And Prez, to me, waits for the crowd too much. Like, he enjoys the crowd enjoying his bars too much. Like, instead of him being the performer and MC, he actually turns into a fan. And I think that takes away from his performance too. So the second round, this guy D Flamez is applying that pressure to that neck. You know what I mean? They keep all night. And Prez's second round was, to me wasn't that memorable. The crowd is stopping every time for D Flamez. He might have been local. I don't know. But all I could say is that his third was crazy. He had bars, man. He had bars. He had stage pressure. He had aggression. And he had bars. This guy barred Prez to death. He barred Prez to death. This was a dope battle. Prez fought back. But there's no way you could say Prez won this battle. No way. Even if you're a fan of Prez. This guy had bars for him on deck. And you talk about swag. You talk about, that aura. That boy was riding that wave heavy. Flamez. I'll put the battle in my description box, make it easy for y'all. So try and speed this up. The last one, I normally don't break down 1-round battles, and I normally don't rate them really high. There's only a couple 1-round battles that I really, really like, and the one that I think is my number one is Young Ill versus T-Rex. There's two. Young Ill versus T-Rex. That's my favorite. And the one I like a lot is Charlie Clip's X Factor. And that just, and the last one, I know I said two, there's three. So, Young Ill, Rex, Clips, X Factor, and there was a 1-rounder with Wavy versus this dude. Shoot. Oh, man, I can't remember the dude's name. But it was one of Wavy's early battles. And the dude choked after Wavy went. Like for 4 or 5 minutes. The dude just choked. But Wavy's performance was dope. I thought it was dope. But anyway, off that, I have to add this 1-rounder to the list. Quest mcody, Daylyt. Now, I'm not for all the antics. I love the Daylyt that battled Philly Swain. I love when Philly Swain said, "Yo, let's keep it rap. Don't touch me." And back up, back up off you a little too close. And Daylyt said, yeah, I hear you. And then back up in his face, like, what? I was feeling that. Real talk, I was feeling that. That was some real street shit. And the other one that I liked with Daylight's performance was him against Rich Dollaz. Now, that 3rd round, where he was talking about, you thought I didn't see those gold chains when you walked in the bathroom, and he said, everybody in my crew is golden retrievers. One of Daylight's hottest bars. That whole battle was good, and it was a decent Rich Dollaz. I'm not a big fan of Rich Dollaz. I actually think he's one of the worst battle rappers out there. But that wasn't a horrible Rich Dollaz, and Daylyt handled him. Quest mcody, I don't really know. I know he has a battle league or something. I've seen his face before, whatever, but I don't really know him as a battle rapper. And I really didn't watch any of his battles prior to that. But his 1-rounder, he went for, I want to say he went for like 12 minutes. So he must have had 3 rounds, and they just did it as a 1-rounder. But he kind of like left the planet. He was talking to Daylyt, and he was talking that street shit. And he was getting real aggressive and personal, and I mean, to the likes I really haven't seen somebody really get at Daylyt like this, and he was getting at him hard body. And I think Daylyt makes it easy for people to have material for him. Like if you're a real good battle rapper, battling Daylyt, to me, it should be so easy to come up with material. The guy just gives you shit, like on the humble. He gives you mad material to work with. So anyway, I'm not going to get all into Quest mcody's bars, but he said something about the fight that the fight that Math, and when Math got jumped by Disaster, and how how Daylyt was lying to people, how he jumped in, or he was trying to do this or that. He said Daylyt looked like if he was trying to jump into a double dutch. And, you don't see people double dutching anymore, but anybody that knows that shit, you gotta do that rocket shit. Anyway, and then he pulled Clips, and he shot around at Clips right behind Daylyt right after it. And I was like, this dude is not playing. And I respected his swag for that, man. Like I was surprised that he came at Daylyt so heavy. So then Daylyt comes in, And Daylyt said something about the 69 boys, and whoop, there it is. And that was just a crazy line just to get everybody off of Quest McCody's, because they was riding with Quest McCody back on Daylyt's side. And then he said he got a gun so big, you know, that it marries Faith Evans, you know, with the Notorious and all that. And then, you know, then he's the one with the panda scheme, forgive me before. And he said something about a panda scheme, which was cool. And then he said that he's the next to bubble like frog breath. I thought that was slick, you know. And then he said, you know, he had a wolf scheme with the wolf in here. I thought that was hot. And then he had an Obi Trice flip with the lips, and I thought that was hot. You know, it was quick punches too. You know, Daylyt and Quest McCody was giving you these quick punches, great schemes, haymakers, bars, excitement, aggression, stage presence, bro. Everything that you wasn't getting out of X Factor and Ill Will. I'm just being honest. I have to say that while Quest McCody seemed to have more bars, I'm not going to say better bars, more bars, and spit like a minute longer, I have to say that Daylyt's bars was he had a couple of heavier haymakers. He sort of swung with the crowd a sort of way, and it's a tough one. I mean, one rounders are tough. All I can say is it's a classic. I'm gonna say I prefer Daylyt's bars and performance over Quest McCody. You know, Quest McCody was saying all the right stuff, had the swag and all that, but his look was not really believable to me. And I know people might, you know, kill me for that, but that's just me, you know, saying what I feel on that. Yo, I'm gonna close out with this. And I don't know, I had this up in the debate group, and it got, you know, got a little buzz, and I was thinking to myself, like, what if a battle rap event went on the road, like a Gnome 5, or being that Gnome 5 is already set, say Gnome 6, was set up to go into, like, name 6 hot cities. I don't know. New York, Chicago, LA, Atlanta, maybe Denver, Texas, something, not Texas, not it, but like Dallas, you know, something like that. And you do it in a 2-week span, you know. For some of it, you could be riding a charter bus. For some of it, you may have to take a plane out. But all the battle rappers, almost like the And One type of thing, all the battle rappers are on this bus. And they go from, you know, city to city. And they perform the same battles. Like, you don't have to come up with new material. You perform your same 3 rounds for the person that you're battling each time you show up at this city. And because you're doing it in a 2-week span, and of obviously, like, say somebody like Smack or whoever, you're not doing it live stream, you're going to record it, and you'll decide when you let out the battles. Obviously, you let it out after you guys are done touring. Let's call it a tour. You could even take it, you know, if the battlers can do it, you take it outside of America, you know, Europe, whatever. And here's what I think would happen with that. You'd get a better product, because by the time you're at city 2 or 3 or 4, the rappers already, the battlers already know the material. They know what kind of crowd reaction they're getting, and they're going to be sort of ready to do their stuff. You could practice all you want, but performing live is performing live. So you're going to get a better product at the end of the day after the tour is over. So you could use that video footage to release. You know, the last performance might be the one you use, or you could pick the best performances for all the battle rappers. It could benefit them. Like, my best performance might have been in Chicago. Somebody else's best performance might have been in LA. I could see the battle is not totally happy with that, but you know, it could work. It could work for you guys. Now, the other reason you want to do it, you build a better fan base, a bigger fan base. You get to cities that not everybody's going to travel in New York for Gnome 5, but they want to see it. They would go if it came to their city. And then the battlers that are complaining about getting just $2,000 here, or, you know, battling once this 3 months and not having any bread in between, or trying to survive off battle rap. Hey, if you're on tour and you perform in 6 cities, you know, and you also bring some CDs that you made, some clothing wear, what a clothing line, whatever. That's, I mean, these places, you could hold events and make some money. So, I mean, if it works out, you could probably clear, not a top tier, but a mid tier battle rapper. You could probably clear 25,000 in 2 weeks. Now, I know that's not big money, you know what I'm saying? Some of the battle rappers that are like Mook or whoever might make 40, 50 grand on one battle, but for the other dudes, they making anywhere from 500, 1,000, $3,000 a performance, 5,000 some of them. But if you had a tour, could be very lucrative. I'll just throw it out there. I know there's some pros and then I know there's some cons. Throw out the cons out there. I know there's cons out there. I don't want to speak on it because it's my idea and I want it to fly, but I know there's some cons out there. Trust me, I know battle rappers, somebody could, you know, fall out of the tour and mess up the tour. You know, the show out, people coming to the show, you know, may or may not work. You mean I get the numbers you want? You mean the venue, something could happen with the venue? I don't know. But now with the leagues popping up in all these cities, you have a fan base and you have locations that have had battle rap events. And I'm sure a guy like Smack could just reach out to a league owner from a certain city and say, hey, I want to coordinate with you. Maybe even give him a little bit of the bread just to set it up in that city, promote it a little bit. Boom, you're all set. It should be like a network. The league owners need to get together and be like a network, and they can support each other and unify and really make this thing what it is. All right, let me know what y'all think. Holla back at me. All right, Mad Dog.